Today is International Women's Day. So, first of all, happy Women's Day to all the women out there and even to men um, to celebrate the essence of womanhood and to all those men, especially who have been very supportive of their mothers, sisters, daughters, wives. So, congratulations and a very, very happy Women's Day. Today was a very, very important day for me to come live and talk about Women's Day, especially answer the question why Women's Day. I think this was back in 2022 on the Women's Day. I remember I was preparing a child, this girl, to speak a certain poem. I rise, I rise, I rise by Maya Angelou, and the poem is like absolutely very, very beautiful. And I think I also recorded a video, and it's there on Facebook right now. But the same girl asked me. I'm sure she understood much later, but and she was a child definitely to be able to ask this question. She said, isn't celebrating Women's Day a kind of bias? Okay. Because when we celebrate Women's Day, are we not saying that men are less important? Okay. So, and there are many of my students, female students I'm talking about right now, who tell me that, in their house, the men of the house will tell them that, oh my God, things have drastically changed. The girls are very, very different from what they used to be, and assuming that the girls are suffering like the women like 50 years ago, 100 years ago, that's not the truth. That's what we all want to believe, right? Today in the morning, I was just coming back from my yoga class, and then I stopped to take some curd and all. So there was this other lady, and there was this shopkeeper who asked me that, is there something today that because I can see many people going to the temple? And I said, oh, there's nothing else except Women's Day. This other woman, who was an older woman, she must be in her, I think, 70s, she said, oh, yes. She said something in Hindi that Women's Day, where women now have stopped going to the temple. And I could see that, kind of uh, like over, what do you say, confidence of having knowledge over this comparatively younger woman, me. And I said that I don't remember for how many months, but I have not missed a single day. I have not been to the temple. Okay. So why do we celebrate Women's Day? And what is the need for Women's Day? Is it not a bias against men? And, all those kind of questions I'm here to discuss. Okay, so let's start with why Women's Day, or why 8th of March is celebrated at Women's Day. So, 8th of March in 1917, that was the date on which women kind of they rebelled against shortage of bread, okay, to the czars in Russia. And the czars in Russia were there for 300 years, okay, and later men also joined them, okay. Eventually, it so happened that and there were suffragettes, and there have been like different rebellions from the aspect of like from the side of women who fought for their voting rights, who fought for right to property, and who fought for educational rights and things like that. So that is why 8th of March is celebrated as Women's Day, International Women's Day. And happy Women's Day to all the women once again. Okay, so what is the need to have Women's Day? So what is the need to have Women's Day? There's this chapter in class 9 that I teach in CBSE, okay, which is about Einstein. Okay, Einstein, how he fell in love with his first wife, Mileva Maric, and he had been to a certain university. I'm forgetting the name of this place. And Mileva Maric had come all the way from her own nation to this other nation because in her nation, women were not given education at a master's level. Okay, so things have been very, very drastic. Now you can see women going out and you know they can go and take up subjects, but this is something very, very new. Okay, let me tell you that in fact in my time only, when I was in class 1, I remember one of the best schools, St. Michael's, it became co-ed during our time when I was in class 1. Okay, so things have changed now. What you're seeing right now is just uh, a very minor change, or a change that is not a very long term change which has happened, or like it has not been there since ever. Okay, that's the first thing that I want you to know. So this chapter, when I was teaching, and not just my idea about it, but now there are findings which tell that the relativity theory of Einstein was not just developed by him. In fact, even in that chapter, it says that he fell in love with this other girl called Mileva Maric, and they used to write love letters to each other in which they included physics as well. So she was as intelligent as Einstein himself. For the people who know, for those people who know Socrates well, okay, the people who are dealing with history and literature, and for you, I have some piece of information. Maybe you already know that the great Socrates, who was his teacher? His teacher was a woman. And that is why we don't talk about that woman ever, because she was a woman. So what I'm trying to get at is that the contribution of women have long been overlooked. If we find out about the latest data, you can actually go and search about it. It says something like women contribute up to 357% as compared to men. Okay, so it's like almost 3.5 times more as compared to men is what women are doing. Okay, and yet we say she's a woman, she's a bad driver, and she only knows how to dress up and things like that. So why Women's Day? Why we still need to celebrate Women's Day is not to celebrate the idea of getting your hair straightened and things like that. Yes, if it's your choice, please go and get that done. But the initial idea is to celebrate the contribution of women, to celebrate the idea that we need equal rights, because we have been doing much more than you, and even if we have not been doing much more than you, we still need our rights. Okay, but if you go back in history, we want to look at history thinking that, oh my God, it was men who were going and fighting. But do you ever think that, oh my God, it was men only who initiated fights? Women were never involved. You watch that movie, and there is history actually available, which is not taught to class 10th and 11th, I believe, related to the partition. I don't remember that movie's name. Sunny Deol. And so what happens is, like, they show what happened during the partitions. Hindu men would rape Muslim women, and Muslim men would rape Hindu women. The women were nowhere at all involved in any kind of wars, but they were raped and manhandled by men of the opposite religion. So, you have problems with each other, please go and kill each other. Don't involve us. The problems of wars have also erupted because of men. That was not the idea of women. So stop telling us that, you did not go to fight the war. We never initiated it either. So the idea, when you talk about this, still women were staying back at home. Women were giving birth. When you talk about Taj Mahal, off lately, there was this funny thing one of my friends shared, that where was love involved in Taj Mahal? Because, Mumtaz Mahal, she died when she was giving birth to the 14th child. So no family planning ever happened. And men literally, and I would be very blatant and shameless to say that men have literally treated women as sex objects. Men have literally treated women as childbearing machine. Okay, so this is a machine from where we can get children, and they have not even planned that. They have no idea about what happens to a woman's body when she gives birth. That too every year if she's given birth to children. Okay, and that's something which may have changed in the last 50 years, like improved in the last 50 years, but you can still see the number of uncles and aunts you have in your own family to understand what was the role of woman. And she was not chicken, she was not treated better than a chicken, you can say. So the entire idea was that you just shut up, you just serve us, provide us food, provide us sex, and provide us babies. You just have to stay back at home. No one is looking at you. No one is going to care for you, but you care for everyone. We are going to live our lives. This is what the society has been, and men who are getting annoyed at this point of time hearing my words know that you need a lot of healing, and you need a lot of this, which is absolutely missing, because you have not gone down into history to find out what was the reality, and you have not even looked at the present data to understand what is the reality. So there's this book by Virginia Woolf. Virginia Woolf is a great writer. There's this book called A Room of One's Own. Okay, in A Room of One's Own, she kind of uses this fictional character, Judith Shakespeare. Okay, she says that Judith Shakespeare is the sister of William Shakespeare. Of course, it's a fictional story, but she is saying that Judith Shakespeare was as intelligent, perhaps more intelligent than William Shakespeare, but she could not become what she was meant to be. Why? Because she did not have a room of her own in the first place. Because I know as a writer that if I have to write a poem or if I have to write something, I need absolute silence. So she did not have a room of her own, and people obviously misjudged her. You must be knowing that women were burned as witches back in the 14th to 16th century. That we are talking about European nations. While women were burnt here as loyal wives in Sati amongst the Hindus, But if the wife died, the husband could marry the very next day. I'm not trying to be like very literal, but yes, when the wife died, when he would just identify that, oh, we need another slave now, so let's get married. But if the husband died, then the wife could not live. And if she lived, if she dared to live, obviously she was manhandled by other men of the same family. So I don't know why are we talking about civilization and we are talking about civilizing women, or women need to be in shame. You need to civilize men. Men have long not understood the entire idea of what is the meaning of civilization, how to behave like civilized beings. I'm not saying all men, because I personally know a few men who really have, who really are doing their best and who really are proving to be good men. But these men are very, very few. But I'm fortunate to know some men of that sort who have been like this kind of divine masculine, what we can say. So, in the room of one's own, this is what is being said, and women's contribution have long been put behind the curtain. There are a number of authors about whom I can tell you that whatever writing has been done in their name was not their writing; it was their wife's writing. Okay, and the scientist Einstein, I already talked that around 50% of the work was already done by Mileva Maric, and when they got married, so there is a history. I don't want to get into Einstein's history anyway. What I want to talk about here is, first of all, not giving any credit to the contribution of women, and second thing is, like in physics you have work. Okay, this is work done, anything else is not work. So there's a definition of work. Whatever work men do is work, whatever work women do is not work. Because at home, if you get a clean house, if you are never told that atta is missing or anything of that sort, or the cleaning is done, or the clothes are washed and pressed, and if the food is coming on the table at the right time, and you still have that is when namak kam hai and all those things, then you have not realized what amount of labor it requires to keep the house in that situation. Okay, because most of the men I have known in their bachelor's life, they never maintain their house cleanly. Okay, there's nothing like cleanliness in their lifestyle. Okay, so, and it's not about most of the men like that's it's not about only the men I know. Okay, so whatever I'm saying, this is not my opinion. Whatever I'm saying, I'm citing from some kind of data wherever I've read. Okay, so I would not want to be that girl who says that all Muslims are bad because one of my friends behave like that, or all Hindus are bad because this person who lives behind beside her house is a Hindu, and they are these kind of people. I don't give speeches, or I don't speak publicly based on my opinion and my emotions and my feelings. When I say something, every argument of mine is always based on some data that I've already read about. Anyways, so think about this entire idea of having this entire household work, the most important work being giving birth to children. And it's not paid, but it's so much, it's invaluable. People are never, thankful to the woman. In fact, the woman, immediately after the childbirth, like 3 days after a C-section, the woman is working for her child. Okay. No one says that, okay, you sleep, I'll take care of the child, you just feed the baby. Who did this work distribution? Like, the time has come to think about all these things. Who did this work distribution? That women will be slaves and men will be the people who, like, have a good time. Think of a man's life and think of a woman's life. And that is why women are, there are many women. I will be talking about what are the problems and why are we not overcoming this quickly. So why are women like they are today? Okay. So, there's this other statement people say that because women are getting more educated, that is why divorces are happening. I'm sure that's the truth, and I am the one that supports the argument. But when you say that women's education is bringing about more divorces, you need to question about marriage itself first. What kind of a space did you provide to the woman in marriage? So, what happened? So, what has happened since I'd say 10,000 years or so, um, is that initially it all began with the physical labor bit, right? Okay, so if you go back into history, the humanity began with matriarchy. Okay, and there are documents based on which I'm actually speaking, private rights and private property and things like that. However, when things went to the hunting and gathering society, when men were supposed to be going and doing this, and realizing that women become pregnant and women have to, like stay back, and they have to give birth, and they have to breastfeed, and they have to do all these things for the babies because the men could not handle the babies. Then the idea came that, oh, this work is more important because we are getting the food. Okay, getting the food is so important that we forgot that for whom are we getting the food? If the baby is not there, if there's no one to give birth to the babies, no one will be required to eat the food. So they thought that getting the food is the more important work. So patriarchy set in. That's how patriarchy set in. Now it evolved into understanding that um, education, learning, and perhaps finances became more important. And again, can you see at this point of time how, in a very smart manner, patriarchy using religion, fear, and shame has put down the women? In name of religion, you have periods, you cannot go to the temple, you can do nothing. Or in name of religion, that dowry is important. Or in name of religion, the wife should go and live in an uncomfortable situation in the husband's house. She should transform everything. The husband will do nothing. He will just stay in his own house. Or, every way that religion stops women from moving ahead. In fact, Manusmriti talks about, that women and Shudras should not be educated. There was this paper that I had written. I think I was doing my master's at that point of time, and people were like, some of the people were like really angry with me. There was another paper I wrote for an international seminar which happened in Women's Studies and Development Center in Delhi University. This, I think, was around 2009 or 10. And this paper was based on the European rape paintings. Yes, back in the 16th century, 15th, 16th century, there were these rich people who had rape paintings, as and paintings were not paintings like we have paintings today. Okay, so a full wall would be that of a certain painting, that way, and they would put rape paintings there. Okay, Greek characters, some god raping a girl or some nymph. Those rape paintings were thought to be a classic. So in that paper of mine, I talked about rape paintings, like how women were considered, like even rape was something which was glamorized. Oh, like, something like in Hindi, in Indian culture, we say, uske naam mein bhi haan chupa hai. Nonsense, just get lost. So the entire idea, I presented that paper. And so what I'm trying to talk about is that agency has not been given to women. Women's bodies have been treated as, like secondary, a thing or a property that belongs to men. That is why we need Women's Day. Okay, and on Women's Day, when you give, good, in parlor, if you give 50% off, great. But can you understand that a part of manipulating women's brain is also to make them feel? I've heard so many women say that to me, that, after marriage, my husband said that this is such an important work. You must do this work at home. And, my husband used to get intimate with me, and I could feel his love. No, that intimacy is not his love. If he decides for you, like, stay away from the man who talks to you the very first, second, third day and tells you what is the plan of his life in which you are going to be a part. Stay away from that man. And believe me, what I'm saying today at the age of 40, and I'm going to be 41 very soon, was not understood by me when I was 14. But I can say as 41, I did not understand it 14. I was also a fool. I thought that, okay, if men speak like this, it means love. So a lot of people need that kind of guidance. Girls need that level of guidance. A man, if he says that this is my plan, you can come here and do some things like that. He doesn't love you. He's just wanting to, just like in Mrs. And Mrs. Why is Mrs. such an important movie? Because if you look at that man, a man can never flirt with you if he loves you. That's a very, very big statement. I must tell you, a man who loves you will be rather nervous in front of you. A man who flirts with you, especially from the very first day he has met you, he means nothing except business or deal. So this is something we have not been told, and that is why we need Women's Day. And women need to be protected from men. But let me also tell you, men also need to be protected from men. Okay? Everyone needs to be protected from men. If you look at the suicide ratio, the men are committing more suicides. If you look at the dowry deaths, if you look at the rapes, if you look at the eve teasing, if you look at the acid attacks, all are done by men. Okay, so men are harming women and men are harming themselves also. There was one of the reels which some people found funny. I did not find it funny. There was a man who had recorded one, he was going on he was on the train, and he said that there was a man, another man, who kissed him. And he said that, how is this acceptable, and things like that. And no men stood beside him. You know why? Because men don't want to, um, like, men don't want to challenge patriarchy, because they feel, which is not true, they feel that patriarchy means the rule of men, while patriarchy means corruption. Patriarchy means rapist mentality, to be very, very straightforward. That is what patriarchy actually means. Because when you are overlooking the rights and contribution of the feminine energy, you are also at the same time keeping the men away from femininity. While a balanced individual is one who has both masculine and feminine, yin and yang. Okay, so the entire idea is keep men away from femininity. Then what ultimately happens, when you keep men away from femininity, what ultimately happens is that they're kept away from the nurturing energy, they're kept away from the healing energy. That's what femininity is all about. They are kept away from creativity energy, from expressing themselves. Because femininity is a lot about communication, creativity, healing, nurturing, motherhood. You keep the men away, and they will never be able to be happy themselves. Whenever I go for spiritual practices like art of living, vipassana, and all those things, I see myself, like, whenever I feel like crying, I cry. But I can see the men, they're trying to hold back their tears, because ever since childhood they've been told, don't cry in public. So men are suffering as well, they're not realizing. We need Women's Day to remind the importance and contribution of women. So, first of all, it was physical strength, then it came to educational strength or financial strength. Religion smartly, contributed to keeping women behind the curtains, because religion made rules that kept the women, or the Shudras, or, that particular community of the society under control, in slavery. So they could not, they were under fear. If you do this, this is the consequence. So because of that, women were not able to come up. That's the reason, and that's why we need. Who gave this role to women? That has to be questioned. Then when you talk about dowry and alimony, I feel absolutely hopeless when I see women saying that, oh, alimony is not compulsory, it should not be given to women. Because women don't respect women's work at all. Women don't realize, and there are these women who are not married themselves. There are these women who have not given birth to their kids. There are these women who are totally dependent on their own parents, and shamelessly they say that, why should there be alimony? If you are independent, you should not wait for alimony. I am one person who did not ask for alimony, but that was not because I was independent or I wanted to be, independent. That was because I just wanted to get rid of that connection. So let me tell you, the society never questions that how is a dowry arranged? How is 50 lakh rupees arranged by a father who has already been doing so much, or the mother, whoever it is who's arranging? But the society is a lot about, alimony. Why should she be given? Let me tell you, why should she be given alimony? She left her parents' house. She was very comfortable with her parents, people who supported her, had given her birth and nurtured her and loved her for 25 years or maybe more of her life. Suddenly she has to leave that house and come to your house for nuisance. Okay, then she will be made to wear clothes she doesn't want to wear. Then she will be asked to do work she has never done in her life, or she has never wanted to do in her life. Her career gets sacrificed. Yes, like if a woman gets, let's say she's just worked in a job for 2 years, let's say she gets married at 27, and then the family, responsibilities come over her. Obviously there'll be an imbalance. She has to think, to get medicines for her in-laws, for her parents-in-law, or maybe the sister-in-law is coming, maybe the children need to be, how will she manage her own job? Partially anyway, every woman is paying for her career. Most of the women are paying fully because of their career. So many women actually leave their jobs, or they don't enter the job because they have to be a wife and a mother. Okay, apart from that, women give birth to children. Women are the people who nurture kids inside their tummy and outside as well. So why don't women deserve alimony? You think this is useless work? You would not be existing if, women didn't do this work. So why do you question alimony? I have no idea. And if you talk about alimony in terms of crores, please know what is the present. Please ask yourself, get that straight. Make a full list of things that are required in 1 month. How much fees does the school ask for your child? Okay, and how much did the woman had to leave before she got married to you? How much did you ask in dowry? Okay, so there's a huge reason why every woman deserves alimony. Yes, I'm definitely not in favor of women who are getting married 7 times only to get alimony, but every law is misused. Why don't we talk about other laws being misused? If there's a bank robbery that happens, the criminals will be immediately caught. But if there's a rape that has happened, like 16 rapes, no, sorry, one woman every 16 minutes gets raped. That's about the outside scenario. Inside the house, how many wives are getting maritally raped? We don't even question that. But are these rapists caught? No. This woman can rather be killed, or she will be ashamed. She may be wearing some clothes that attracted the men. We need Women's Day and we need women's rights as well. Now, why is this still existing? Major reasons. I would say there are two major reasons. One is men and one is women. Now, men's reasons are very clear, okay? Men look at women as with lustful eyes as though they are things to be, consumed. The most intellectual men, when they talk about these things like this, I get really hopeless. There was this one of my Facebook friends, and for a number of days, I saw very, very intellectual and funny posts coming on, very humorous, very intellectually humorous posts. Suddenly, 2 days before the Women's Day, he writes something like, um, she can have a tummy, but she's still yummy. Okay, so it was showing a fat woman and it said that, she can have a tummy and she's still yummy. You don't know what's there lurking inside the man's brain. You want to say that these people are saints? They are not. Saints are only a few people. Okay, and it requires a lot out of a man to make him stop thinking about women in that sense. And I have seen in my own life, whatever intellectual work you may do, but men will look at you as a body only. They will only see, okay, what is like attractive about her? Maybe even the speech, maybe even the song, or maybe, you're just standing there. It makes them think of other things. We need to heal that part of men. They need the nurturing of feminine energy. So men obviously are, aspects of that. Very few men are there who are healed, who are nurtured, who are not going to crack nonsensical jobs. Why do we have jokes about men and women when we talk about, family jokes? You will hear those kind of jokes like, the husband says that, I'm waiting when will my wife go back to her mother's house. How is that a joke? You just created a scene before marriage. If this was a love marriage, in front of everyone, she is mine. Now you want to get rid of her? That's a joke. There was also a joke related to that, two husbands were talking, that something related to like, and that's something from my life. I remember this joke was cracked in front of me, and someone said that, one of the husbands answered in the joke that, of course, I can look forward to another marriage once this woman dies. I just said the same joke in another manner, and I said that I would be looking forward to another marriage when my husband dies. I was just 1 year into the marriage. After I cracked the joke, I started crying. But before that, my ex husband was not crying. And that's the attitude most men carry. It's a joke when, men get married immediately after their wife's death. It's not a joke for a woman. Till the time the woman is with you, till the time she's shouting at you, till the time she's fighting with you, she's emotionally so bound with you. She cannot live without you. That's what she thinks. So, high level of imbalance between men who are trying to, get the best out of women versus women who are trying to give the best out of them. That's a huge level of imbalance which needs to be managed. Now, the second problem is women. Okay, why this kind of imbalance is still there in the society, and I feel very ashamed to be talking about it. Anyways, so what are women doing to create this imbalance or to continue with this imbalance? Now, there was this post about Mrs. This post said, if you are a man who feels uncomfortable or who feels annoyed after watching this movie Mrs., go sit with a woman in your family and have this talk, and you will come to know what women actually feel about so much of labor. Okay, not just the labor that you undergo when the child is born, but the labor that you have to do at home, and you still get no credit, no recognition, and no respect also. There was a man who had commented, and this was put together. I had this chat long ago with my grandmother, and the grandmother said two things. Grandmother said that this girl, like the heroine that in that movie, she could not prepare food for two men. And the second thing, in another post I saw, that the same man had commented that she also said that she wanted to leave the respectful, safe place of the house and she wanted to dance. For these kind of women, these aunties who are, there, and one auntie I met in the morning who said कि आजकल की लड़कियां मंदिर कहाँ जाती हैं, and I told her that I don't know how many months, but I have been to the temple every day. But going to the temple does not write your character. Okay, going to the temple does not make you, it's not a mechanical work. It's a connection you have with God, and no one can question that. So these aunties, if you have lived in that cage, अगर आपको केज में रहने की आदत पड़ गई, सारी औरतें वो बकवास बर्दाश्त कर ले, जरूरी नहीं है. If you think you are the smartest, like Nirmala Sitharaman, she was saying, oh, every woman who wants to come up will come up. What nonsense. You are one of the only cabinet ministers or female cabinet minister. She's saying patriarchy does not exist. She said that. You can, if you talk to me on DM, I'll send you the link of YouTube. She said that. She said Indira Gandhi nahi thi, and she didn't have obviously much, Draupadi Murmu. She didn't have enough examples. So many men versus 2 to 3 women in the history of India. So what does that say about India? It says that, we get hold of those kind of women who are ready to be sycophants. आपको पता होगा, चापलूस, जो आपकी हाँ में हाँ मिलाएंगे, उनको आप ऊपर करते जाओ, ताकि, because they are not going to question patriarchy. They are going to say that if you're intelligent, you will rise. Nonsense you are. If you think like that, you are highly selfish and you are highly scared of men. All these kind of women, I really want you to know, because ऐसे ऐसी औरतें हैं. मैंने जब बोला, I written some post like, marriage was always about men getting a free slave and even money for that. Dowry. You're getting a dowry, then you're getting a sex machine, you're getting a birthing machine, you will get the child out of it, then you get a slave for all your life, khana, pina, safai, sab hoke rahega. And that's like blatant truth. I don't know why people can't see that. So one of the women, because she's on a certain position in some place, so she said that may be just a perspective. Men also may think in the same manner. Nonsense. If you manage to do something, or if you were supported by the men and the women of your house, that does not change history and that does not change data. Okay? I will not be one of those people who is going to say that I have been shaped by the people I have met. No. The society's reality will be the society's reality. Your personal reality is not going to change the society. Okay? So women are selfish, and these kind of women are selfish. I'm not talking about all the women, because I have met some really, really good women who have helped me, and I think I have done my job well as a woman. But they are very selfish and they are scared. Some of the women will precisely not speak up because they think, what will I answer back my husband, or what will I answer back my cousin or my brother or my in-laws if they ask me that you were speaking like this, or you commented on this. This is your fear which is holding you back. And because of this fear, there is definitely some repercussion which is coming back to the society. I'm sure as a woman, I'm not going to make a major change, but even the smallest change that I've made, that makes me very happy. So women can be the cause of, their own disaster. A major reason why these things are, existing between both men and women is the perceptions. The way we look at things matters a lot. Like I was just looking, some random person, he's putting up a picture of, he's absolutely topless. Okay, great. You have those 8.2, whatever abs, whatever you have in your body, and you've developed that. But if a woman puts up a picture in her gym clothes, and if she shows that, she has proper abs and all those things, then that becomes absolutely shameful, no? The perspective matters. And then someone will say that, oh, because women are unsafe. So you just stay in your own cage and you just shut up there. If you don't have the courage to go out and tell the society this is the reality, if you don't have the courage to go and do something beneficial for the upcoming humanity, something beneficial for the women that are already there, then you just shut up. Don't speak up. Okay? Then, another reason why women are behaving like this is like they want peace. This again comes out of, selfishness. They want peace. The same reason why India stayed under the British for 200 years. How did we, has anyone ever questioned that? How did the Britishers manage for 200 years? Do you think, what might have been the population? Let's imagine the population was only 50,000. Okay, 50,000 people. Do you think 1 lakh Britishers were here to rule over us? No. If there were 50,000 Indians, the Britishers must have been 1,000 or something. But they built up an army made out of Indians. So the Indians were disloyal, and we say Britishers were after us, while we have suffered because of our own citizens. And the same thing happens here. We are suffering because of women also. We are suffering badly because of women. All these mother-in-laws are women, as well. This entire idea that love should be proposed by men, and the woman who does that, my God, there are coaches who are teaching women that, if you want him to propose, you will have to act in a certain. Why should I act in a certain way? Nonsense. If I have to act not like myself, then he can stay away. I don't need him. So women are also ready to buy all these things. That's why, I think we are under the fear that if we die alone, oh my God, it will be unsafe, or we are going to be lonely. No, please understand, you should have some level of companionship. If the man does not qualify that level, then just throw him out of your mind or your heart, whatever. So we have not, developed our own levels. We have not gone to those higher levels. And for one or the other reason, we are still suffering. And there are many, many, other reasons, like, the entire idea of women being quiet, and women not speaking much, women not making financial decisions. There was this video that was a very, very nice video which showed that they were made to come into a closed circle or something like that, into a circle. And then a question was being asked every now and then. They said, if the answer is yes, move ahead. If the answer is no, move back. Take one step back. So they first started talking about household chores. So the women moved ahead. If you're doing this, if you're doing that. Then they started talking about financial decisions. Do you know where does your husband invest his money and your money? Women moved back. Do you know how much does the car cost? Women moved back. Do you know how much mileage or whatever? Women moved back. Do you know what amount of money is required to buy your house? Women moved back. Did you make a major decision in buying your house? Women moved back. And then these men who had come in front into a closed circle, they were the ones who said that we really, really felt the pinch and pain that women must have undergone when they went back. So the entire idea that keep all the strong, like the important decisions to men. Why? You must have watched that movie Lapata Ladies. I don't know how many people got, the understanding of why this movie was shown in that manner. Lapata Ladies, the girl knows absolutely everything, how to feed everyone in the family, but she has not been told which city she lives in. The same thing now, it may seem like extreme to the city girls, but the same thing has been done with you. They have not taught you how to drive a car, or, how to make financial decisions. Those things were not important. Or how to drive your own passion and, things like that. And so the entire idea that, we need a major change. What can we do? So the final aspect of what I'm trying to talk about, what can we do as men or as women? Okay. So we need to question every norm. Before accepting every norm, we need to question it. Why are women only fasting for men? You talk about wife fasting for husband. You talk about mother fasting for sons, not even daughters, okay? The religion does not say that. Or you talk about sisters fasting for brothers. Why are women only fasting? Why don't men fast if that is such a great thing to do? Do you know the real meaning of Raksha Bandhan? Raksha Bandhan was that Rakhi that was tied on the man's hand, not for the woman's Raksha, but for the man's Raksha. For the man's safety, so that he goes to the war and fights and comes back safely. But what have we transformed Raksha Bandhan into? Ki behan ki raksha karunga. Nonsense. So we need to question every norm. I remember saying that in my own marriage, that I don't want Kanyadan to happen. And a number of people told me, it's just a ritual, forget about it. Kanyadan, I'm a thing that you're going to give away. Why will you dan? Like, why will you give me away? Or do you know the meaning of sindoor? The sindoor is put on this particular nerve over here in the center, and they say that nerve controls the woman's mind. Or that bichua that women wear, especially in Bihar, because I come from Bihar, I'm from Patna. So there's this thing called bichia or bichua, which is worn on the second finger, the second toe. Okay. So it is worn over there so that her movement is controlled by the family rules. And the bangles that you wear, do you know how the bangles are made? In class 12 syllabus, they talk about it, how the bangles are made. There's so many men and women who are losing their eyesight for making you these beautiful bangles. And you're so-called calling them ki suhag ki chudi. Nonsense. There's so many people who are dying and losing their eyesight at a young age. Why should you continue with this kind of a tradition? So we need to question the norms. That's the first point I would put up. Second thing is, we need to teach men feminine energy related things. We need to teach them healing. We need to teach them meditation. We need to get them into journaling. Men need to express. because men are not allowed to express. They move ahead on the path of bestiality and they become the beast that they have been asked to become. There is this particular advert by Vogue. I think Madhuri Dixit is doing that, and it says that, men have been taught ever since childhood, boys don't cry, boys don't cry. I can't watch that advertisement without crying. Whenever I show it to my students, I'm already in tears because all those little boys look like my sons, like Chinmay and Sanvit. And I remember with how much love have I nurtured them. I was not thinking कि बेटा है कल को बचाएगा मुझे. No, they were as soft and they were as cute and they were as, like I needed to safeguard them just like I would have safeguarded a girl. Why do you tell the boys from the childhood that, become a beast right away? Why can't they express themselves? I can't even think about it. It looks like when I think of this situation, if I am put into that situation that I don't have to express, I'll feel like I'm into a small room which is absolutely dark. There is no space to look. There is no space to breathe. Why do you put men into that situation? Obviously, then they make the wrong choice that, whatever they think of independence, they go towards that side. Then they start learning from their, other friends that women have to be objectified. Women are meant for consumption. Okay. So please, we need to do a lot for men as well so that we can save our men and we can have a happy life between men and women. We need to give the same things to women as well. And in fact, we need to give women voice. One of the reasons why I help women to write their own books, one of the reasons why I help women to publish their own books, one of the reasons why I help women into public speaking. And I've helped many children also learn the same. Because if the latest generation, the generation that is growing up, if you can nurture them, there's nothing better for the world that you can do. So that's the next thing that we need to do, that we need to, provide girls or women also with, expressibility content, or get them to get rid of fear, okay, and get rid of this entire idea of validation, okay. A lot of women, like you look at a man who has gray hair and you look at a woman who has gray hair, man looks smart and handsome to people, but the woman with gray hair, she looks like, oh my god, बुड्ढी हो गई है, इस उम्र में ये सब सूझ रहा है इसको. Nonsense, just get lost. I don't care for these things, but we need to change these rules. I do care for them. Okay. Then what can we do? We can teach both men and women the right definitions of independence. We must teach our daughters also alongside our sons that you need to be financially independent. Okay. And financially independent as well as financially intelligent. Where not to spend your money. Okay. And where to spend your money, how to save your money, how to invest, all these things we need to teach to both our boys and girls. Okay. We need to teach our boys and girls both about cleanliness, about how to cook food, about how to wash clothes, and about how to put the clothes online and then put them properly. This can be done by parents, and I'm not just talking about, mothers. Okay. What the men at this point of time who have wives can do is that they must treat their wives with ultimate, absolute respect. Because when you are not treating your wives with absolute respect, the daughter learns that अच्छा ऐसे तो behave करते ही हैं men. That's called a father wound. Okay. And when a girl has a father wound, she attracts the same kind of men. She sees that this is how my father used to behave with my, that's not a conscious thing she's doing. But she sees that this is how my father treated my mother. That's how romantic it is. So she will also, if she finds a narcissist or a man who is not paying so much attention, who's ready to marry but then he does not pay attention to her or who does not compliment her, she thinks nahi pyar to karta hai. Why should you marry someone like that? Get lost. But these are the things that we need to change, right? We need to, make both men and women into capable individuals. That's what I was trying to say. Then we need to have more seats in Rajya Sabha, Lok Sabha, in fact, everywhere where it matters. We don't need 33%, we need 50%. Yes, we need 50% of the seats. That may sound extreme to you at the moment, but that is how it's going to start. We need to change the syllabus of the school. Syllabus in the sense that we need gender sensitivity as one of the subjects. It's absolutely important. I think only a few days ago, in Kerala, somewhere, I don't remember very well, a class 11 student, she was giving her exam, she went to ask for sanitary napkin and she was not given and she was asked to leave. Her period started, it was the first day, she needed a sanitary napkin. If the school cannot provide that, what can the school actually do? What is the need of that school then? However, many more things like that are happening. There is this thing that happened in September, but the news is out right now. a 6-year-old girl being manhandled by a class 11th student, and he was not even an Indian. But the school did nothing. The school said something like, oh, he is a very quiet kind of a person. Even that class 11th boy's younger sister was saying, don't do that. He put his finger somewhere, that too on the bus. What kind of buses are running and what kind of people are we putting on bus to see what children are doing? So we need to change these rules. We need to be more aware, and we need to make our children also aware regarding these things. Okay. And the mindset change that we have to bring about is to stop judging other women, or stop judging men or women on anything, right? You see, women can wear any kind of clothes, like they can wear jeans and they can wear sari also. But if men try to wear sari, or they try to wear skirts, why do we judge? In one of the schools 3 years ago, I think I remember 2 years ago, there was this act in which a boy had become a girl. He was wearing a sari and he really danced well. You know who was laughing on them the most? Two, three girls of the class were laughing. And the girls were saying, oh, you really played the role very well. You were actually looking like a woman. So I asked them that, do you think that looking like a woman is like looking lesser? You think women are like funny? Because if a boy, like if a girl becomes a boy, and I've enacted as a boy a number of times, I was always applauded for, and it made me feel proud that I'm a girl, but I can still act like a boy. But if a guy acts like a girl, why is that shameful? You need to question, especially if you're a woman doing that. So you think that women are lesser. Chudiyan pehen lo, what do you say? You think women are lesser. That is why you say that, right? You think they are inferior. So, and there are many more things I'm sure you can do. The immediate thing that you can do, if you are not married, don't get married into a patriarchal family. Don't get married at all if every guy you're meeting is patriarchal, or he has this thing here and he doesn't want to settle that also. Okay. So there are a number of things we can do to change the situation. I'm sure that change will not come overnight, but we have to be very hopeful and we have to give our best. So, how can you, what is that thing in you which you can provide out there to women for them to succeed, is what really, really matters, especially if you are a woman. If you are a woman, you need to be loyal to your own community. That's the biggest thing that you can do, instead of judging other women and say, I'm not like her. Okay. I think that's it for today. Signing off. Arunimasana. Namaste and happy International Women's Day to everyone.